April 21st, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on a 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. Looked like there was a big sell-off. First, I was playing this yellow down channel. Then I kind of found this red down channel a little bit later, but it didn't really come into play, so it wasn't really that helpful. There's a bounce, and then it looked like it was moving up this shallow channel and also this sub-yellow channel. Took a total of one trade today, and unfortunately, it was a loss. There was no economic data that came out to really be aware of or to be careful of. And overall, the volume volatility was really, really low. It was a big sell-off, so if you could jump on this somehow, you would have been able to ride this down. But there are these sideways consolidation and corrections that would have made it difficult to really take a good long runner on unless you had really large stops. So I think I only identified like three setups, including the one bad trade that I took, and then two things that I noticed, like two arrows that I noticed. So I'm going to go into the trades right now. Pre-market, there was this gap down. It wasn't really severe, but then it already started exhibiting kind of this big sell-off. So initially, I was playing bigger channels, like something from up here down to, but it didn't really quite fit well. Eventually found this yellow down channel right about here when I saw, okay, one touch, two touch, actually from the top side, one touch, two touch, three touch. Low side, it kind of fit right here. And it didn't look as clean as it does now, so there's some modifications until it eventually evolved into this. Having trouble, there we go. Eventually evolved into this yellow down channel. So on the open, prices in the pre-market, actually volume in the pre-market wasn't very high. So you have a new high, excuse me, new low of day in the pre-market, push up, break, test the high. There's technically a visual first entry, second entry, but there's no clean setup here. Looking for a lower high, you get a lower high here, but it wasn't the most convincing. So I just waited. Plus this is right on 5 minutes after the open. Pushes down on this orange down channel, breaks, and that moves sideways. It's making the stair step lower low of days, but no real clean setup. It's just a first entry and it pushes down. So at this point, when I see this in real time, I'm not thinking of going long yet because it's so far from the EMA, but I'm not thinking of going short yet because I wanted to come back to the EMA to build up some pressure for a potential pullback. Pushes down, it kind of hits the sideways consolidation. There are second entries in here, but they're very tiny, like just by one tick, when the span of the candles before them were quite large. So I don't really want to try to take second entries. This is kind of range rules in here, but the candles are pretty much the size of the range, so it makes it difficult to trust any setup. Because here you could probably just get chopped out. Pushes down. Here kind of confirms the yellow down channel pretty well. Hits sideways consolidation again. Now these aren't printing very quickly, but there's no real clean setup to really trust because again, these candles are pretty much spanning the entire length of the range. Breaks out. I did see this as a possible setup, but I wasn't sure, so I hesitated. Creates a new low. It's a first entry short, pull back, second entry short. Now this is actually a breakout of this previous range. So the breakout's pushing back into the range here. What made me hesitate was this range is pretty big. It is a second entry, or it could be considered a lower high if you had a first entry short, second entry short, but this isn't a really clean, it does look like two legs, but it's not really clean second entry. So I consider this a second entry short, good signal bar, enough room to the low, but I kind of hesitated, didn't take it. This one formed, started chopping around. By the time I entered my order, it was kind of like down here and at the close. And I'm not going to chase this, especially when there looked like there's some kind of support right here. The trade would have been right after this one closed to jump in one tick below this guy, but I hesitated and unfortunately I missed that trade. Consolidates again sideways. I saw this, but I wasn't sure what to make of it because it's very subtle. So I didn't really mark it. I thought it was a second entry short. So it's here, first entry short, pullback. It's hard to see, but there's actually just a one tick above this guy. One tick comes back down, second entry short technically. The thing that stopped me was this also just looks like one leg. So it could be a visual first entry, even though technical count first entry, second entry. I was concerned that it could be a first entry short, do another something here, like either pop up, like to create another leg to hit the high side of this yellow down channel, that it made me hesitate. And this is technically first entry short, second entry short. This could be the signal bar. If it closed at the lows, I would have considered it, but it looked like there was still some buying pressure to push it up just slightly. Ends up, it would have worked, but a little bit unclear for me, first entry, second entry. So unfortunately, I left it alone. Prices start moving down. It's far from the EMA now. This is just a very strong, very deliberate move down, but no clear way for me to feel safe on the entry. So I had to sit on it and wait because it's just a bunch of first entries. Hits the sideways consolidation, pushes down, it starts falling into this orange down channel, bounces off. Well, this red down channel doesn't exist yet, so I can't really use this as a key entry point. So there's no real trade here, nothing bouncing off yet. Pushes down, and actually, this is where I take my one trade that in hindsight wasn't a very good trade. So it creates a new low. It's in a range. I'm thinking it's a breakout of this range, a failed breakout, pushing back into the range. So it's not even a second entry, it's just a first entry essentially. But I got it in my head that it's a break of this orange down channel. Orange channel needs to test the low. I jumped in on pretty much as the signal bar, even if it's a first entry. So it's a first entry, but that's all you have. And I call this trade kind of like an EMA trade, but it was more of a emotional, I just want to trade something, which is not the way to go. And even then, the follow through, because I entered one tick below here, it wasn't a safe trade because this, you know, if this was red, I'd have something to justify the trade. But I'm just basing it off the strength of the EMA, which admittedly has been acting as some kind of resistance pressure, except for right here. So all in all, it wasn't a good trade because it was certainly just a first entry, not good justification. So entered, sat through this noise, flushes up and takes me out because I had my stop above this triple test. If it didn't take me out and I had it even higher, one of these guys certainly would have taken me out. Pushes up and it hits the sideways consolidation. You just pretty much have piano keys at this point. Pushes out of this yellow down channel. So I'm thinking this yellow down channel, although it's shallow, probably wants to test the low. Looks like it was one leg up, right here, one leg up, sideways, a second leg up, pushes up. Keep in mind this red channel doesn't exist yet. Creates a new high. It's also a new low, first entry short, second entry short. I thought this was a lower high possible trade. Confirms the second entry short, two legs up. It did exceed the measured move. Break the yellow down channel, wants to test the low. So I thought it was a good possible trade because it also pushed below the EMA with a decent signal bar. I didn't take it though. Then prices continue moving down. Enters back into this yellow down channel, breaks. So there's a new low here. It's a first entry short. Technically, there's a second entry short. I saw this in real time. I wasn't fast on it. I wasn't really sure. A little sketchy. It looks like it is a break. One attempt up, pull back, second attempt up. So two legs up. It could be justified as a potential second entry short. Comes to this candle, so confirms second entry short. I wanted a lower high, but you could also say it was a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. So there's potentially two key entry points here. A second entry short and we can do that. There we go. And a failed second entry long. But I wanted a lower high confirmation. And you don't really get that lower high. So if you did enter here, right at the close, you would have gotten the quick scalp. You would have survived this trade and then eventually gotten out here. Prices then continue moving down. Looks like it's moving down the smaller yellow down channel. Break, tests the low, kind of hits the sideways consolidation again, which was just pretty much noisy sideways movement on a very admittedly slow day. Then it pushes back up. At this point, I was messing around. I thought there's this break of this yellow, and it was just kind of meandering outside. That's when I drew this red down channel as a pretty much dominating leg down. But by the time I found it, which is pretty much at right here, it was too late to take a trade or use it as a clear uh, justification for another key entry point. Because if I had it here, then I could have probably just trusted this lower high a little bit more. So breaks of this orange up channel pushes down, just very tight trading here, or very tight price action. There's a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Decent bar for a second entry short, but I also saw it as part of this big leg. I initially did have it something like, well, I tried to get this to fit nicely, but it didn't. And by the time this one formed, I eventually dragged it and made it something like this. But there was ends up being there was no setup for me there. Then it falls down on this leg, pushes up. This is kind of pushing into the close. So it's a new low. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short, but this is a good signal bar. There's enough room for the EMA, but it looks like it's a little bit sketchy because here broke the purple up channel, test the high. In real time, I was concerned I might get a bounce here. Then it creates kind of like one tick below, flushes up. I was thinking, is this the first entry long pullback? Is this a second entry long? But it already made a new high, so the count resets. So I had a new low here, first entry short, second entry short potential failure because it hasn't failed yet. And the follow through on this bar isn't strong enough. It kind of closed at the middle. If this had closed at the high, then I would have been more convinced it's a new low, new swing low, first entry short pullback, second entry short with a really strong close up here with enough momentum for 1 point scalp. But it didn't do that, so I had to leave it alone. Who knew that this was going to have the big strong follow through like that? New high to first entry long pullback, second entry long. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so there's no real trade there. Plus, this is getting into the last 10 minutes of the day that I don't want to have to deal with. So it ends up being kind of a really, kind of a slow day. But if you, I mean, I don't know that you would have been able to really predict that it was going to push down this much. But even when it did that, there weren't that many setups to take advantage of. So hopefully that was helpful.